Hey, Tammy here with this week's takeaway. We've been talking a lot lately about purpose and fulfilling our purpose in this life that God gave us, and that He gave us an actual purpose to fulfill. But I want to kind of talk to you today about the fact that even though we have a purpose that maybe is something that we do, we also have the purpose to just be. That God created us to have a relationship with Him, and that is the ultimate, most important thing. Because we can get so caught up in do and do and do and forget that it's really about a relationship with God and with other people. There's a couple places in the Bible about Peter. I think about him a lot, maybe because I'm having to deal with some of the same stuff that he dealt with. Maybe that's why. And so these couple of pictures that I have of Peter, I may have even talked to you about before, and that's okay, because it just means that this is still something that I'm processing. And so just bear with me with that, okay? So the first thing is Peter in the boat that night when they had the storm, and when Jesus comes walking out on the water to them, right? And Peter sees him out on the water, and of course at first they're very frightened by it, and it's a ghost or whatever. And that makes sense to me, because people don't walk on water, right? So what could it be? But then Jesus tells them, calm down, it's okay, it's I, right? And so when Peter realizes that it's Jesus, he asks Jesus to call him out on the water, right? He says, call me out to you walking on the water. And so Jesus says, come on. And Peter does, right? He steps out of that boat in faith, and he steps on the water, and he takes a couple steps. And we know the story, that then he sees the storm, and he just gets frightened, and he loses that faith. Actually, I think he's not locked eyes with Jesus anymore. He's looking at the circumstances all around, right? And he starts to sink down, and Jesus grabs him and pulls him right back up, right? So there's that first part. And when I think about that, my question about that is who was that for, that Peter wanted to walk on the water? Was that, I'm going to do this for God? Was it, I want to do this for other people? Or was it just a personal thing? I want to walk on water. And I feel like that's what it is. Peter wanted to walk on water, right? How cool is it to walk on water? He wanted to do this thing, and it was basically for himself. And yet Jesus still allowed him to do it, said, come on, let's do this thing, right? Because that's where Peter was in his walk with the Lord, is like, what can I do, right? You can walk on water. Can I walk on water? Sure, walk on water, right? Okay, so now I want to take you to way later, after Jesus has been crucified, and it's when Peter and James and John, they decided, there might have been some others with them, but anyway, Peter decided to go fishing, and some of the other disciples said, we'll go too. So there they are, they're out on the water, and they fished all night. You know the story, they hadn't caught anything. And as they're coming closer to shore, they see a man on the shore. And the man, of course, is Jesus. So this is after his resurrection, and Jesus is on the shore looking out at them, right? And he says, have you caught anything? They said, no, we haven't caught anything. And he said, throw your nets over on the side. And as soon as they said that, of course, that reminds them of what Jesus did at the very beginning when he first met Peter, right? And Peter knows that's Jesus. And now he just dives into the water to get to Jesus. And I think that is so beautiful, because the first one, he steps out of the boat, he wants to walk on water to Jesus, but it's really about the walking on the water more than it is about getting to Jesus. But that second time, he doesn't care what way he gets to him. He just wants to get to him fast, not because of how he does it, that he's going to walk on water. He doesn't care about that. He just dives in that water and he swims. Why? Because he just wants to get to Jesus. Now it's become about relationship. He just wants to be with Jesus. It's not about what can Peter do? What can I do? And I think that sometimes we do that with things, right? We say, I want to do this great thing for God. And I wonder sometimes if there's another motivation, that it's not really, I'm going to do this thing for God, but it's, I want to do this thing for for myself because it's going to look good, or I'm going to feel good about myself if I do that. I'm going to feel value because I did this thing, right? And then at the end, Peter comes down to it didn't matter. None of that mattered. He just wanted to be with his Lord. And so he dives into the water and he swims to Jesus. And so during this time when we're all thinking about what our purposes are and what we're doing, I also want us to take some time to just think about our relationship with God and to just spend time with him. You know, I've been doing a book. It's called Day by Day. I've probably mentioned it before, and it's every day you do daily office, right? So there's like a morning and an evening one. And before you start, you spend 2 minutes just being still. And then afterwards, you spend 2 more minutes just being still. And you know what? That is the hardest part of it. I can do and do, but to just be still with God, right? To just keep my mind focused on him for 2 minutes and not let my mind go somewhere else. It's been a struggle, and you know, I'm slowly learning it. And I say slowly because sometimes still I'm like, I have a little timer. I set my timer on my watch. Timer goes off after 2 minutes, and I realize, oh, my brain was on something else entirely. So I'm working on that. But I think that the main thing is that we need to keep God the main thing, that it's really about relationship with him. I hope that you have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you next week.